the one that sticks out. Aatrox got some really big buffs. And for those of you that don't know, Rich in the LPL played a ton of Aatrox. This is still his most played champion of all time for his career.
The other interesting part from that first ban phase is the Renekton, but no Rumble ban. That was something that EG ended up picking up towards the tail end of that series because TSM will just slam it for Hauntzer. That is indeed what they've done. The priority has gone up more and more. We'll see if they actually end up blocking this in, but I think there's a concern of a takeaway coming. So normally in that series, they were taking it in the 2-3 spot, and EG was prioritizing other things. Here we'll have to see what Rich has in store, because we were asking Solo, we've been asking people, hey, what's good into Rumble? And it's all cope. It's all cope answers. No one has a real good counter, so we'll see what they want to do.
Well, Rich always has something spicy planned.
Exactly.
If something has been learned this split, it is that Rich will love to play some counter pick that has not been pulled out on stage yet. I get my answer to my first question, though. There's the Tristana I was talking about for the AD mid lane, and pairing it with the Maokai, just like I was talking about. This is the bread and butter. AD mid lane, Maokai coming from jungle. It is still so good because Tristana gets this hard pushing lane. Maokai scales into really good objective control for you later on and brings that AP threat.
And generally speaking, we are looking at that veterancy of Santorin and Jensen on the side of Dignitas to be able to push them through this best of 5.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they can step up going against Insanity, who's probably on that Jace pick. And then they also have the Ezreal, which was something that started to show up as well. Just last week, that was more in the NRG series that FBI was playing it, but it looked pretty good, and I think convinced a lot of people to give Ezreal maybe some more attention.
Now, the Ornn actually is one of the tanks that has looked the best if you can look good into a Rumble. Rumble lane phase is always pretty annoying to deal with, especially with the buffed up Harpoons, Magic Shred, landing both of them up to 40%, 60% now, and the percentage health damage. But Ornn has a decent time as far as the tanks go, and Dignitas are clearly stating, we are going to scale to some massive team fights. Now they're going to have Ornn ornaments as well, backing up this very solid team fight. TSM, though, they've got the double poke with the Jace Ezreal, and the Ezreal I've actually liked as we've seen it emerge in the last couple of weeks.
And we've seen plenty of LCS players like WildTurtle that have been playing since the beginning of the league always be able to revert back to that Ezreal and the threat that he opposes. And I am curious also to see how Rich does perform on the Ornn, someone who has brought through a lot of unique picks through the regular season, but it is his best of 5, his first one in the LCS, and a lot of times you'll see that comfort come through.
Well, and the nice thing about best of 5s is you can take risks in your first couple of drafts and kind of adapt and see where things are going. Leave up the Rumble. We don't want to overreact to the series last week. We'll see if this option works into it. Maybe they have a second option, which is more lane focused that they can try. Here, the other thing I like is Rich usually has pretty good itemization, and I know a lot of people feel like the support items do counter out Rumble quite a bit, whether it's Locket or Redemption, and Ornn is a champion who can sometimes opt for those cheaper build paths and building more team-centric. So I would love to see where Rich is going to go with this, if it will be more tank-focused or if he'll dip into the support itemization.
And they take away the other prime engaged champion still left up with Nautilus and with Rel both banned. They yoink the Rakan here. Don't want to let the extra CC go over to his TSM side. And Dignitas, they're set up, I feel like, with such a solid draft so far, but we get the Lilia finally. All right, and it's a TSM Lilia.
Speakers watching, sweating.
The classic TSM Lilia coming out. Chime, who I think has been really underrated as a support this entire year, pulling out the set too, with so many of our supports really leaning into the set. It must have been running rampant in those scrims.
Yeah, I like also initially the takeaway from the Rakan, because that was also Chime's best champion by quite a margin. So he's going to back it up with set, and then the Zeri coming in, something that has been hit into the ground repeatedly, nerf after nerf, cropping up yet again here in Tomo's hands.
So the thing I really like is when we have clearly different paths for both teams based out of Champ Select, and TSM have just tripled down on their poke path. Now Lilia, you don't immediately think is a poke champion, but she really is.
Yeah.
With the points into Swirl Seed later on, you kind of go poking and fishing for Swirl Seeds down lanes.
All right, TSM and Dignitas here in game number 1. As Kobe mentioned, lots of poke to look out for TSM, but Dignitas ready to scrap it out. What do you think we should be looking for, Mark?
I think the thing that jumps to mind is the mid lane matchup, not just with the history that we were talking about with both these players and Jensen attending Worlds and all that stuff, but also the matchup. We saw in the Team Liquid NRG series how swingy it can go depending on how you're playing. If you're able to E the Triss out of her rocket jumps, these kinds of things. You see a nice chunk on the Chime here.
Yeah, Chime's definitely taking damage and already has to heal up. Going to get the opportunity to back.
Did force a pot out though, so a small little advantage there. He wasn't sure if they're going to keep chasing. They were a little worried about how much was around them.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised with the lateness on that potion, because if he had plenty of time to get back to Fountain and fully heal.
I think it's about time we get some coach perspective in as TSM make the play.
Hey, thank you very much. As I'm here with Enetron as TSM throws the level 1 invade. I know you're wanted to watch this closely, but I do want to ask you how the draft played out from your perspective. I know Lilia and Set are some less common picks.
I mean, for sure, TSM came with some new surprises, right, compared to the last game they had, the BO5, but I think we are really prepared for anything they might throw to our way, so I'm really satisfied with the draft we're having here.
Right, and what do you feel like the biggest win conditions are going to be if Dig takes game 1 here?
Oh, I mean, depends a lot on TSM what they are planning to do once we are taking the game, right? But I think we are pretty satisfied with how we are approaching this series overall. Of course, I can't leak too much, right, going into the next games, but whichever side, we are ready. We have 2 weeks, and we're ready for it.
And real quick, Svenskeren, I got to ask you, you're going up against TSM. Is there any added fire to try and take down your old team?
Yes, of course. We're going to shit on him.
All right, thank you very much. Let's send it back to the casters.
I love the confidence coming out of Sven there, knowing what he wants. Big trades in the bot side, but I do want to highlight what happened during that time. We saw the Lilia invade. One of the things with this 4-range composition is basically range with...
Oh, Chime!
Stand up a Poome! First blood drawn by Chime.
Underrated no more, baby! Flashes right in there on the set. He gets payment for his potion. They made him blow the potion on the level 1 mark. He gets it back in extra.
Not relying just on the Rakan pick either, showing he can do it on the set as well. Huge first blood out of TSM there. Comboing with the invade that I was going to hit on with them. The fact that the Lilia clear speed as well as the range advantage allowed them to take top side of the jungle and stop Santorin from being able to grab that red side buff. So he only got a single buff, only got the Raptors away before he was forced out from Bugi coming back down to that bot side.
Yeah, and I want to take a moment to talk about Bugi and how much he has done for this team, because he's another player that does a lot of setup work for TSM, as we'll get a look at the replay for the kill first. So we saw the exchange here early. Poome uses both his E's here. Tomo cleanses the ignite, so we know so much is burned. Poome no flash now. No cleanse on Tomo. Chime's looking for it. As soon as Poome moved up to the minion wave, he sees it, flashes in, knows there's no flash on the Rakan, hits him with the snapback, and uses the minions to ensure that he gets the stun. Now we're going to see Bugi here go towards mid. And it's
spending lots of time mid. Yeah, Chime coming in as well, but not going to be able to collapse.
Bugi, though, he has the highest kill participation of any player in the LCS. TSM do not do a whole lot without him, but it's because he does so much. Over 80% kill participation because of how active he does get in the early game, as well as how much he sets up this team for team fights.
Yeah, absolutely huge for their playmaking, something that Lilia can bring. Obviously, once you get 6 is the biggest part.
Flash over the wall. I'm knocking them together. Jensen already burned to half HP. Haymaker thrown out, and Bugi's made his way to support Insanity and Chime on this push. Flash forward, ushers the rocket jump away from Jensen.
A little bit over-aggressive there by Insanity. Saw an angle to potentially land a hammer form Q and try and slow them all down, but not able to get it done. Nice Q there by Santorin, actually, to knock Chime's Haymaker cone off of Jensen and keep him a little bit healthier than he would have been if he took that damage there. So nice little play there. Yeah. Nothing comes from that skirmish except a flash, unfortunately blown by Insanity.
I'm actually shocked we didn't get any emotes after that. There was no Pepega frog. There were no question mark things after that for Insanity. But trying to wrap around that banana bush sometimes is a little awkward, and Jensen just rockets.
It's playoffs, Kobe. They're taking it more seriously. Emote games turn down. Not everyone's
True.
JoJo.
I do feel like in the beginning when elimination comes into town, there are less emotes to be seen on the Rift.
It's a mental game, though, Mark. I mean, if you're not playing the mental game, then you're losing out on possible.
To be fair, Dig didn't emote either. They should definitely be the ones spamming. Insanity could also be like, I don't need this flash emote. You know, like neither team stepping up to the emote game.
The more time you click buttons to emote, the less time you're clicking the buttons to win the game, Kobe.
but emoting is winning the game.
Oh man, what a rabbit hole that we could go down on this one. But early lead though for TSM as far as where their focus is getting them, reverting away from the emotes and focusing on the gameplay. 1,000 gold. That first kill was given over to Chime, again making up for the pop that was popped, but still playing aggressive here on the bot side. I mean, Kobe, you were talking about the proactivity of Bugi and what he's been able to offer, and we've already seen him bringing that attention to mid and beyond.
Yeah, and Chime has really been looking like a bit of a Giga Chad himself on this set support, which has really gained popularity. I want to see, since it is going to be bottom side now for Bugi, if he starts to fish around. Generally, you want to get to your level 6 here on Lilia, and then you start throwing out some angles for lane ganks where you can fish with the swirl seed again. And if you do get those hits, you can put them to sleep and have someone like a set follow up. But Bugi's just coming straight from the Krugs because they got a lead on Poome.
Chime pressuring Poome to dash over the wall. Gives a chance for some sweepers to be drawn out by TSM, clear out the ward just thrown. So continual pressure on the bot side means a little bit of a loss in the gold lead as the other lanes are being given the chance to farm up when they see that vision on the enemy jungler.
Yeah, not much focus has been topside despite how much we talked about the Rumble and what it's going to do. It does have a 12 CS lead, that's quite nice, but there's been way more focus on the skirmishing around mid lane and bot side. Chime was pretty low level 3 at roughly 6.5 minutes from all the roaming that he has done thus far. Now getting a little bit more experience in the bot side, but Bugi's still focused on counter jungling out this Maokai, holding Santorin down. Believe not quite going to hit 6 off this, but continuing to try and get his advantages individually.
And starting to see some of those ultimates come through. WildTurtle hitting 6 and then Insanity at 7 to match the 7 for Jensen, who is able to reach that as well. So with this dragon spawned and still not taken, those tools are available to the teams. And
Chime has been working with Bugi for the past like 2 minutes straight here. Almost duo jungling with him and getting full vision through bottom side. The wave is pushed at the moment, and we're about to have Rift Herald spawn in 10 seconds. Nice little attempt here from WildTurtle on another champion capable of getting those cross-map snipes, but Jensen is not sleeping at the wheel just yet. Game number 1, Mark. He's not tired. He's had his caffeine, sees it. And
like Jet said, he's feeling good.
Yeah,
he said he was feeling good about it.
He does seem like he's in a very light mood. When he came into makeup, he sat down and then asked for anti-shine, and he was just like, why is it called anti-shine? Oh, wait, anti-shine. I get it. Like, Jensen, where are you at going into this game?
Well, here comes the Rift Herald that we are talking about. It's a full rotation up from the Dignitas bottom lane. And you can see on the minimap right now, TSM made the call. WildTurtle is heading up on this Ezreal too. He doesn't have his ultimate to fire from down there, but he should be able to arrive in time. And if they're making him move, then TSM have probably made the call that they want to fight this. There is a Scryer's Bloom, but they're just too late.
Play already had by Dignitas to secure the Rift Herald, and Poome wanting to create distance. Facebreaker by Chime after flashing. Tomo activating the ult. Drowsy locks onto 2 of them, but too much distance to be able to follow up. No kills.
You saw TSM try and force that engage a little late. Insanity was resetting, not quite back in range to take that fight. And so while they did find some engages there, Chime was not 6 to ult someone back into the middle of his team.
Yeah.
By the time the Drowsy was enacted and they fell asleep, both members had disengaged far enough back that TSM couldn't actually chase down through the front line.
Yeah, that one to me just looked a little frustrated. Like, we made the macro call and we were just too slow. Now we can't let them get away with this, right?
Gotta do something.
Exactly. They've taken the Rift Herald. We got to force something. They do trade some flashes here. Like maybe you can follow up something on Santorin now. The Maokai has no ult, has no flash. Had to use those to disengage, but Dignitas very happy to be able to get that Rift Herald, considering TSM's success already they've had in the early game so far. Definitely something that could be a big comeback here for Dig. Meanwhile, Tomo.
And Chime coming through as fast as he can with that knuckle down in case WildTurtle does want to go for some additional pressure onto Tomo, but none to be had.
Definitely wanted to highlight grabbing that Rift Herald is pretty huge for Dignitas. We didn't talk too much yet about the scaling for each team. I think it's probably Dignitas favored with the Ornn, with the double marksman, just the way the team comp's going to play.
Rich responding, Call of the Forge God, locks onto Hauntzer, throwing out some flames of his own to force Rich back and some healing.
not able to get any kill threat down there, just pushing them out in the lane a little bit. But to this point, you know, Dignitas do have a lot of scaling. Taking that Rift Turtle away is huge, given the fact that they were already down 1,500 gold just from laning disadvantages that will stem any kind of snowballing from TSM.
And this TSM squad, especially with rolling a first Dragon Ocean Drake, that would be huge for a poke comp to be able to continually throw out skill shots here through the mid game. Does so much. Ocean Dragon, one of the best early dragons as a first dragon. All of that extra sustain for all of your lanes here definitely does a lot, especially with, knockback here. Jensen kind of pushes Insanity out as they have a teleport coming in, so Insanity gets a free little walk right back here. Dignitas invests the teleport from Rich. Not that big of a deal with the minions on top side, but Dragon still picked up for TSM, so they are full steam ahead here, almost to the 2K gold lead mark, and they can really start to now bring together those synergies you know, as soon as they start to get these single item power spikes.
Speaking of some of those synergies, the Lilia Sleep and Rumble ult, you can actually just tick them down with the burn without awakening them. It's a really strong combination that Dots can have with Lilia Sleep. Another small thing, because I am such a huge Lilia fan, going for the Roa build, it looks like most likely. We'll see if that's, yep, there it is, completed there for Bugi. There's a lot of debates about which one. The Leandri's tick rate with her passive burn is pretty crazy how much damage it can do, but given that there's not much other frontline other than Chime, who is a support tank, it's understandable to go a little bit beefier, and it is a very strong option for the Lilia.
But that Rift Herald previously grabbed by Dignitas will now be dropped down on the mid lane. Turret still available with the plates at 12 minutes. Gets the crash, cannot be stopped by TSM.
Definitely cashing in on the expected value here for Dignitas with that objective for themselves. Meanwhile, those one-item power spikes are starting to come through for both sides here, with Tomo getting a static shiv. It's so nice for the Zeri in her current form to be able to deal with a lot of this wave clear so much more quickly. Meanwhile, a little bit of a jungle chase here. Bugi using his support. Chime has been hand in hand with Bugi. It's been one of the clearest things of the TSM strategy coming in this game, has been those two linking up, this set creating so many plays for him.
Oh, down bot though, WildTurtle pushing off Tomo and Poome, who are going for the play. A little bit of wave to keep Turtle under some protection as Chime makes his way as fast as possible. Does not tag with the True Shot Barrage, keeps his life, but did use the flash.
Did get the flash burn, but for TSM, not too bad, if that's as bad as that tower dive could have gone. And I did like the call about working with Chime there, the fact that they have gotten 3 consecutive buff steals, 1 on every single spawn. It was red to blue to red again. Chime working with Bugi to kind of keep accelerating Bugi ahead of this game. Now 10 CS lead, a little bit, not too bad.
Yeah, and Lilia is definitely one of those junglers that getting accelerated returns a huge reward because of her clear speed. And because if you take down some of these defenses, makes it so much easier. We've already seen some of the bowling ball swirl seeds come down the lanes, fishing around. If one of those hits, then you get, you know, a sleep into instant kill on somebody and then try and turn that into an objective.
And while I know it was mentioned in the Dignitas sideline coach interview that it's a bit of a surprise to see Lilia coming through for TSM, I feel like it's not a surprise to see TSM in general flexing new picks. We have not just looked to Insanity for his pool, but the way that the coaching staff is trying to lean into the individuality of these players and their willingness to bring up new strats. The Lucian in their previous series against DG, now one of the first in the LCS to bring the Lilia through that I know we've been anticipating for some time, but continued roaming from Chime. I think that a lot also mentioned him in discussions of some supports that are underrated and now clearly serving a purpose in the way that he is facilitating his jungler.
Yeah, he's done a very good job of being proactive on the map. One of the people that I think we all unanimously had on our most snubbed, well, we were saying who just barely missed the All-Pro battle. I think all of us had him down there. So someone who has quietly been rising up the ranks of support players and so far having a good game, making a name for himself, finding a lot of engage opportunities here.
And speaking of him, he's up there on the Rift Herald. Objective focus for TSM. You see the duo for Dignitas have made the call. They're going to try and stay bottom side and pressure the secondary tower on the bottom side while they give up that Rift Herald.
Oh, down bot, lots of trouble to be had. Teleport coming in, and Insanity is all on his own versus 3. Ornhorn drawn, does manage to get the knockup. This whole time, though, TSM focusing onto the Herald on top side, picking it up. Down bot, Nature's Grass coming in from Santorin, and the root directly onto Chime's face. means that it's Insanity that's lost in the fight.
Oh, what a nice W there from Rich. Immunes the set ultimate from Chime to try and take him under tower. Now we look at what they're going to do with that Rift Herald that they acquired, but I think it's a very good job for Dignitas exacting some payment for that Rift Herald. They commit to the bottom side play. They don't want to fight over the area TSM already have vision of. They don't want to fight over that Rift Herald. They make good on their dive there. Insanity now no flash on the Jace, as well as being able to pick up the kill. Let's take another look at it.
Yeah, you can see they have Insanity down the bot side while they're 1-3-1 setup here, but just so much playmaking and Jace less mobile, so pinned underneath this turret. Poome has to engage there. Would have gotten out if Dig did not also commit the rich TP, but there you see the W from Ornn immuning the set ultimate. Probably could have got a kill on Rich if he was pulled underneath the turret there with turret aggro, but they're all able to escape also with the ultimate coming in from Santorin.
And in that time, TSM dropping the Rift Herald onto the mid turret to take one down. Tomo pressuring on this top side to make this top side turret the next one to potentially fall, but of course Hauntzer's here to answer.
And if you're top side, guess what? TSM gonna take another dragon. They already have the Ocean, so this one should be number 2 for TSM. Dignitas, they clearly keep on making these cross-map plays. They do not want to fight TSM at the moment, so trying to get as much as they can while TSM continue to take those neutral objectives.
I do really like this though from Dignitas. Heads up understanding of, hey, this composition out of TSM is going to be really annoying around neutral objectives, not just with the poke, but also when they decide to go in. If they land that swirl seed from Bugi, they drop the Rumble ult on top as well. And we're not at our item power spikes yet. Rich is not handing us out these ornaments yet, so let's just keep scaling how we can. You can see the gold lead has not grown at all from that 1,000 gold lead that we saw basically at 10 minutes. So this has been a very good mid-game so far out of Dignitas of just avoiding TSM.
Oh, Insanity fired up though. But that is an Ornn here down bot, just defending this wave and more. In the end, it is TSM though whose gold lead has somewhat minimized because of those aggressive plays that Dignitas have to set themselves up for that scaling that you are mentioning.
And there's a couple of areas where TSM could try and increase that gold. Bottom side turret, of course, is super low, and that one's kind of standing there. But also, they made the rotation on the answer back top, and Hauntzer will be able to get this outer turret. So not only do they get top outer turret, bottom side outer turret is also very low, and Bugi's about to steal another buff, or attempting to at least.
Pressuring Santorin best he can, but Poome is trying to wrap around, sped up, charms one, knock up to follow, and Tomo's here to continue with the damage. Ornn Horn gonna be able to knock up two. Tomo going into the backline with the lightning crash, double kill for Tomo, looking for more. Santorin picks up the kill onto Hauntzer, and it's 3 down on the side of TSM.
And Dig say, that's one buff too many, Bugi. Not this time. Huge, huge kills for Dignitas inside their own jungle. Big defense there. This could be the swinging point in the match, because this is usually the time where some poke comps might start to lose steam if you give too much gold over to the team that has all the hard engage, and they know it. You see the movement here from TSM. They get really antsy as they see the rotation over. They know they've been caught with their hands inside the cookie jar.
And this is just the perfect shooting fish in a barrel angle for Rich there to just send that Ornn ult straight up this pathway. No way for the TSM members to get out of there. 3 kills handed over. The saving grace for TSM is that this was at 18 minutes. 2 minutes later, this is a Baron game might be over. They do get a chance to recover because now it's just a small gold lead swung in Dignitas' favor.
But they should still be so scared, because the biggest downfall of poke comps is always hard engage, getting those big breaks onto your team. And like you said, Maokai ult plus Ornn ultimate plus a Rakan, that is as hard as the engage gets.
Yeah.
So they've got to really, really watch out the positioning here.
Speaking of positioning, Poome trying to act aggressively against Bugi, and now Chime wants to find the angle onto Jensen. Nature's Grasp has been thrown out. Should be able to get the root onto one. Equalizer in response, but Chime too low on health. Eradicated in the fight. Insanity soon to follow. Jensen jumping forward to make sure he can get the double kill. And Dignitas officially stripping the gold lead in their favor. WildTurtle flashing away and healing at that. Jensen feeling good to set it up for Tomo to knock down. Dignitas is getting fired up.
Jensen said, I'm still gonna keep up my world streak. No problem here. And honestly, this is what it looks like when a hard engaged team does get the advantage over the poke squad. They fail to snowball really in the early game, and now Dignitas, they're just picking them off left, right, and center.
Dignitas looking good to close out game 1 here, grabbing the Baron as well. Just such strong team fighting, not just from the composition, but how they're playing it and how they're building it. The double Radiant Virtue, you saw Hauntzer drop his ultimate, was hardly doing any damage with these multiple heal ticks coming through by both the tanky frontline members. TSM are contesting this. A little dicey.
Because now Baron's an option for Dignitas. Now Dig are committing to it. Just a downtown swirl seed from Bugi. And a late delay on the True Shot Barrage means Dignitas secure the Red Bull Baron buff.
And now the emotes start to come out. I was
Yeah,
looking for them earlier. That's one of my favorites
gold
too.
leads
The
enough.
thumbs down. The thumbs down emote from Rich as they take the Baron and they know they have this one in hand.
Cowardly. They had to wait till they knew it in hand to begin the emote game. You emote from minute 1, not after the lead.
I don't know. I'm just glad that we got some kind of emoting in this game thus far.
Yeah, now this is huge for Dignitas off the reset here to break the Dragon stacking out of TSM. They have the gold lead, they have the Baron buff, they have the hard engage. All this stuff leads to what should be a Dignitas win, but they still need to finish checking these boxes. This next one being, do not let the Dragon stacking continue, because then that starts giving them an angle to get back into this game.
Yeah, so to play it hard here, or the more difficult angle is how did TSM get back into it? And it has to be one of these plays where Lilia's going to get a big sleep into Rumble Ultimate that kind of cooks them while they're sleeping. And that has to be on Jensen. I mean, because Tomo has Cleanse up right now. So Jensen really, if they're unable to get this magic engage and kill this Tristana, it's going to be hard.
And here's the attempted start. Tomo, Lightning Crash activated. Poome looking for somebody that he can lock on to. Hauntzer gets rooted in the center of him, and Jensen has come to the party from mid lane. Finishes off Hauntzer. 2 already down for TSM. Santorin rooting on forward, and a double kill for Tomo. Don't need a cleanse to be able to get into this one. Insanity flashing away to make his way back to the fountain. Dignitas only losing 1 and getting so much in return.
Wow, they might be able to end the game. 20 seconds left on spawns. They're burning down through this turret with the double marksman composition. I guess that's one way to stop Dragon stacking, is just try and end the game. They have the reset come through, actually, so probably not going to try and end this one. Just going to fall back to that Dragon, which is up, grab it, and a huge engage there. Even well played a little bit by TSM. Chime stopped the Ornn ultimate by CCing him, so he couldn't get the R2 to actually lock people down, but you still saw how quickly Bugi melts, despite the slightly tankier build of the Rod of Ages, just melted by Tomo there.
Yeah, he got annihilated, and they didn't even need Rich's ultimate. Chime was able to pull Rich back, so he didn't get Ornn 2 activation, but it doesn't matter. Dig are so far ahead, and they have more CC where that came from. Flash in from Santorin to finish it. Everybody getting real deep here. This is why I really love watching when teams in a best of 5 will opt for some strategies like this, though. Because if you do go a full poke comp like that, and you know you're playing a risky game and you want to snowball early, and it's very exciting because there's a lot of tension. Can they keep this up? When it gets cracked and you lose a bunch of gold that early on into the game, and it is revealed that no, they cannot keep this up, and they are just going to get hard engaged on over and over again, then it is a quick end to that story, though.
It's Dignitas with all the gold in their favor now. 5,700 and continually pressing forward. You have those supers already pushed up on the bot side, but TSM mostly having to offset the pressure of Dignitas, who are full stacking on top.
Definitely looks like it's going to be easy for Dignitas to close this game out. Do want to give a shout out to Tomo. Despite the slightly rough lane phase early on for him and Poome, he has been huge in these fights, starting with that one at the red buff to start picking up kills and playing well. When Dignitas was with a winning record in the first half of the round robin of the regular season, a lot of it was because he was one of the consistent carry members for the team. Rich was the big playmaker, grabbing a lot of the attention, but Tomo was having very good Aphelios games as well. And it does feel like someone who will need to step up if Dignitas want to make this kind of playoff push.
Equalizer here in response to the Nature's Grasp, but TSM not locked down by it yet. Showstopper into the backline and Face Breaker to follow up, but it's still all live standing. Poome effectively knocked out of the fight because of his low HP. Jensen going in with a rocket jump, wants to finish off Hauntzer. Eventually, Tomo manages to do so, and Dignitas, they've already taken out 2 members of TSM. Chime marked down low, but Poome and more have to be careful because they did take a lot of damage. They'll be able to take the inhibitor here on the exit.
Teleporting in, too. They want to keep the pace up.
They keeping it going, and Chime, Turtle, and Bugi just have to corral together because it's their Nexus turrets that have creeps on them.
Classic top laner moment.
Yep.
He's like, oh, let's go end it! Teleporting into the Nexus! Oh, okay, you guys need to recall too? All right, fine.
You're all 20% HP? Okay, fine.
Honestly, though, I do feel like this this game is kind of a game where Dignitas are like, you know what, Rich, you've had all split long where you get to play whatever you want in the top lane. How about we just try for playoffs, check the ego a little bit, just play the Ornn into the Rumble. This game's not really going to be about you, and we'll handle it. And that being in a game one in a best of 5, I think is very, very good for Dignitas as far as their future in playoffs, not having to rely on those extreme counter picks that you're used to seeing from Rich.
It's really interesting for both reasons. Individually for Rich, he actually has been very good on tanks when he ends up playing them. It's just the team felt like they needed more firepower, I guess, during the regular season, which is why you saw those crazier counter picks. But here, down 60 farm, willing to take a slightly losing matchup to play something for the composition. And then for Dignitas as a whole, this totally throws a wrench in how TSM play the game.
Oh, Hauntzer caught out though here, which means TSM are already down 1 and should have more to fall into the grave to follow. Double kill setup for Jensen. Rich already burns though and eventually eliminated here by Insanity, but Insanity mark it out, but Jensen is just too much damage for him to handle. Tomo looking to get the lightning into the veins of WildTurtle, and eventually a double kill and ace for Dignitas here, ending game number 1 with a statement from mid and beyond. Dignitas are ready to take on playoffs in stride.
Big upset in game 1. The 7 seed Dignitas looking to take down TSM, coming from the winner's bracket, looking to make them lose again. And for Jensen, for the second time in his career, to try and make Worlds from the 7 seed, starts out looking pretty good in game 1.
Definitely did.